And remember, Coach Greg's 48. He's done 30 years of personal research to find out if the answer's true. Coach Greg. The things I do for my country.
Things I'm gonna do for my country.
And so hopefully those 30 years getting into the trenches with those gym girls are going to pay off for you, the viewers. Coach Greg, in today's video, do more plates really get you more dates? And I'm here to tell you, of course they do. Are you kidding me? Even Jeff Nippard got a date. And Jeff Nippard's a manlet, a hobbit, if you will, just like Coach Greg. In fact, he's even shorter than Coach Greg, perhaps 5'4", maybe 5'5" with heels. And so if Coach Greg and Jeff Nippard can get girls, clearly it has something to do with the weights. After all, there's no way Coach Greg or Jeff Nippard could ever get a date because we're so short, who would ever date us? And so, thankfully, we discovered the gym at an early age. And so for today's video, I'm going to watch Jeff's video and I'm going to see, does he actually know what he's talking about? Does Jeff know how to get girls? Did his research provide the proper results? Or is he going to say, it's the personality that counts? Of course it's not the personality. It's all about the bicep.
Does having more muscle make you more attractive?
And so, yes. Having more muscle makes you more attractive, but of course up to a point. If you're 130 pounds, skinny, no muscle whatsoever, and you put on 20 pounds, of course you're more attractive. But if you're already 250 pounds of muscle like Eric Janicki, and you add on 50 more, then no, it's not going to help. But I think everybody already knows this.
Are all those hours in the gym actually worth it?
Yeah, they're worth it. Of course they are.
Do you think more plates equals more dates?
Girls care more about your personality, not so much like how much weight you're lifting.
People on camera are going to say things that they don't actually believe. And so when you're interviewing someone and saying to their face, do you like a dad bod? What's more important, personality or looks? They're going to say it's personality. And it's easy for a guy who has more muscle than Coach Greg to say, oh yeah, it's not the muscles. It's got to be my personality. The truth is, of course, it's both.
Get more dates by becoming more confident and getting really good at any craft and just being you, man.
Yeah, and being a multimillionaire doesn't help either. Jeff Nippard, a multimillionaire, many of these guys, famous social media influencers, guys with millions of followers, owning a clothing company, a gym, being a multimillionaire with over 1 million followers, of course that makes it easier for you to get girls. Not to mention being attractive.
Would you be more likely to go on a date with a guy if he can bench press at least 2 plates?
I don't care.
Oh, I don't care. Meanwhile, he's interviewing a girl who's jacked herself.
And would you be more likely to go on a date with a guy if he has more muscle?
Yes.
And so I don't care if the guy can bench press 2 plates, but I like a guy who has a lot of muscle. How do you think he got all that muscle? From benching 2 freaking plates. Oh, I don't care how much the guy can lift, as long as the guy's jacked. Guys don't get jacked from not lifting weights. And so if you're saying, oh, I don't care if he can bench press 225, you're saying that, but meanwhile you're dating guys 6'2", 225 pounds themselves with 10% body fat. Of course they're benching 2 plates.
Do you think that people who are leaner are more happy in relationships?
Well,
Meanwhile, her boyfriend's about 6'10" tall. He's about 6 feet taller than Jeff Nippard.
Now let's see if the bigger benchers are actually scoring more partners.
Of course we are. Speaking on behalf of all the big benchers out there, guys are getting laid. Girls, they like a guy with a big bench press. And you're thinking, no, all those powerlifters are fat. No, not all powerlifters are fat. But if you can bench press 405, you've been going to the gym and you're probably on steroids. And if you're on steroids, you're probably going to have a higher sex drive. If you have a higher sex drive, you're probably going to be out looking for more ladies, more partners, and so on.
Again, here on the x-axis is how much you can bench, so 1 plate per side, all the way up to 4 plates per side. And on the y-axis is how many lifetime intimate partners you've had.
And so let's do some quick math. If you can't bench press 95 pounds, how many of you think you're going to have a lot of sexual partners? Do you really think it's easy to go out into the world and get a sexual partner when you're bench pressing less than 100 pounds? If you bench press under 95 pounds, you probably don't go to the gym, you probably don't have an amazing physique, and you're probably under 17 years of age. Most adults can bench press 95 pounds or more. If you're bench pressing under your body weight, in my opinion, you don't have an amazing physique. Now, I'm not saying everyone has the same genetics. Clearly, some have better genetics than others. But if you don't bench press at least a plate on each side, chances are you're going to have a harder time getting a girl. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible. We all have that friend that's suave, that's cool, that's good looking, and he doesn't have a lot of muscle. Perhaps they're a marathon runner, they're an athlete, but they can't bench press 135 pounds. But those are the rare exceptions. Most people, if they can't bench press 135 pounds, gonna strike out with the ladies. And so trust me, if you go to the gym and you keep working on your form, you're working on your fitness, as they said in that song. You're gonna increase your bench press. As you get stronger, you're increasing your odds of getting a lady. And so clearly the graph goes up and it peaks at 405. Not surprising. Why do you think that is? Guys who can bench press 405, they have huge chests, arms, shoulders. They're probably over 6 feet tall. And so as you get taller and bigger and stronger, the chances of you getting a girl, they're going to go up. It makes sense. What do you think girls look for when they see a man? They're looking for looks, they're looking for personality, and they're looking for money. And so part of the looks equation is in fact your height. Height, muscle mass, and so on. And so guys who are benching 405, they're big guys. Perhaps they're NFL linebackers, they're bodybuilders, they're guys with a lot of muscle. And not many of these 405 benchers are short manlets like Coach Greg. And so if you do in fact bench press 405, you're likely a tall, jack guy, and you're gonna get a girl.
Men who benched more than 4 plates had, by far, the most partners, with a lifetime average of 16. I found this shocking, honestly.
And so Jeff finds this shocking. And I'm surprised it's only 16, but let's be honest here. Jeff and I, we have about the same type of viewing audience. Most of our audience are aged between 18 and 34. There are some people even younger than that and some far older. And so if you survey, and most people are between 18 and 34, a lot of those guys are only 18, 19, 20 years of age. Those guys are not going to bench press 405. And so they haven't had the time, the years, so to speak, to accumulate all those partners. And so if you ask the young Coach Greg, who perhaps was only bench pressing around 315 pounds at 18 years of age, I obviously had far fewer partners than when I was benching 405 when I was into my 20s and 30s.
If anything, I figured the really big bench pressers would be so focused on the gym that they wouldn't have as much time or energy for getting around.
Jeff, it doesn't take that long, that much energy and time to get around. 16 partners, it takes probably about, I don't know, for most people, 2 minutes to do the deed. If you're lucky, you're going all night. Perhaps you're going for an hour. And so let's round up to an hour. You don't think most men have 16 hours of time in their lifetimes to hook up with girls? And so, no, it's not like that. Guys who bench press 405, they're not just guys that eat chicken, broccoli, and rice. They never go on dating apps. They're never on Tinder. They never go to the bar. Guys who can bench press 405, they like going for girls just as much as guys who bench press 315.
Stronger men are perceived as more attractive by heterosexual women. Other research has shown this.
And so let's put our thinking caps on and think, who are more likely to get a lot of girls? Guys who can bench press 405, let's think of some of these guys. The Trend Twins, Larry Wheels, Coach Greg. Do you not think that these types of guys are more likely to get girls than guys that bench press 135 pounds? Does that not make sense to you?
I was also thinking that maybe the bigger benchers have just been training longer and are therefore older and more likely to have had at least a few relationships.
Think of it, he's showing Jay Cutler. You don't think Jay Cutler can get girls? Guys like Chris Bumstead, the likes who are bench pressing 405, these guys can get all the girls they want. They just choose not to.
My audience falls very strongly within the 18 to 34 age bracket.
And so did y'all know that Coach Greg's audience is almost identical to Jeff Nipper? You're thinking, no, Coach Greg's so old, no one would follow Coach Greg. Yet I'm looking at his chart, almost identical, nearly a mirror image of Coach Greg. And so perhaps we have the same exact audience. Everyone watching Coach Greg is watching Jeff Nipper.
So while age probably plays some role in this relationship, I don't think it's enough to fully explain the trend. It really does seem like the bigger benchers are getting more intimate partners.
And so he said it, not me. I, of course, knew this would happen. Of course, it's got to be correlated. Bigger bench pressers are going to look better. They're going to get more girls.
Because when you look at every single survey respondent, you can see that clearly there are people with a low bench press who've had loads of partners, and clearly there are people with a big bench press without as many.
And I wonder what dot I am on this list. Oh, sorry, the list, it ends at 100. And remember, it's not just the bench press, it's also the squat and the deadlift. And so are you surprised? Did you not expect this? I certainly did. But hey, Coach Greg, he's reading a lot of books on relationships. I am, after all, a dating coach, a life coach, if you will. And so, of course, I knew these things.
But what about women? Do you think stronger women had more partners too? Or did being stronger actually lower the partner count for women?
Of course it does. Girls who are stronger probably also on steroids. If you're on steroids, you're probably going to have an increased libido. You're also going to be in the gym all the time. And what do you think you're doing at the gym? You don't think you're having chit-chat with all those guys benching 405? And so what do you think is happening in those gyms? And so I tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And this is what you need to know. Gym girls, they get around. I'm telling you, gym girls get around. And so if you're thinking, no, she competes in bodybuilding, she's on a strict diet, she would never have sex with anybody. Are you kidding me? And so if you want to have more sexy time than last time, of course you're getting harder than last time, but you want to do is date a gym girl. And because you're going to need more stamina than ever before, of course you're getting GO2 max for increased energy. And Turk Builder, of course, have you having more muscle, more energy. You're going to be able to impress those ladies harder than last time. Code Greg, 15% off.
Nope. Women showed the same trend as men. More strength meant more partners.
Did you doubt that? Did you think it was all the girls that couldn't pick up the dumbbells that weren't getting laid? And so the next time you look at a girl, she's got the biceps going on. You know what she's been doing.
All right, so what body type does the best?
It's going to be number 3. I don't even need to watch this video. It's going to be number 3. I pressed pause and I looked at those caricatures, those cartoon characters, and clearly it was number 3. You really think you can show a diagram of what a physique looks like and say, pick one? The guy on the right, the guy with the most muscle, looked gross. I didn't even want to look like that, and I want to be jacked. Look at me. Do I not look like caricature number 5? Except I have actually some aesthetics. If you saw me in the gym, you'd say, oh, guy actually looks pretty good. This guy's 48. This guy's a little sexy little beast. I like that guy. But when you show a diagram, a picture, if you will, of some caricature and say, pick one, you're choosing 3.
I want you to point to the body that you think is most attractive. So as you go down here, there's more muscle, and as you go across here, there's more body fat.
They're going to go somewhere in the middle. Girls are going to go for a guy with probably 10 to 12% body fat, 15 at most, and they're going to want an average amount of muscle. Something around the natural genetic limit that most people could aspire to. They're not going to pick a guy that's huge, that's on steroids. In general, they want a guy who's super fit and perhaps at the natural limit of what they could do without steroids.
I prefer a little bit of a, like not too much muscle.
Okay.
I think somewhere in this area over here. This. 43. Okay.
I don't like a lot of muscle. I just like them to have more muscle than most men in the gym who are natural. And so take that for what you will.
Let's start with body fat. Does having a six-pack actually help? Or do guys with more of a dad bod get more attention?
Do we really need to answer this? Does having a six-pack help? Well, perhaps not when your clothes are on, but certainly when your shirt's off on the beach it does. If you have no abs, you're perhaps a little bit chubby. If you're fat, you're not going to be as attractive as if you're lean. Now, whether or not that means having a ripped, shredded six-pack, of course you don't need that. You don't need to be at 7 or 8% body fat like Coach Greg, but you certainly want to be lean. And if you have visible abs, perhaps somewhere in the below 15% category, 10 to 12% being ideal, at least in my opinion, that's where you want to be to attract the most girls. Or at least the girls that you're going to want. Remember, not all the girls are going to say they want a guy with a six-pack. Some of those girls are going to be intimidated by a guy with a six-pack. For example, if you're a girl and you're 50 pounds overweight, you're probably not going to say on camera, oh, yeah, I want a man with a six-pack. When you're 200 pounds yourself, you're not going to say, I want a man who has a six-pack. You're going to say, oh, I like and I prefer the dad bod. And so the answers are skewed. If you're looking for those gym girls, those gym bunnies, trust me, you want to have some abs. Telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And remember, Coach Greg's 48. He's done 30 years of personal research to find out if the answer's true.
Things I'm gonna do for my country.
I honestly expected it to look something like this, where the most shredded guys would do a bit worse because, I don't know, maybe they're a little too gym-obsessed or narcissistic.
No. And I like how he shows Greg O'Gallagher as being the narcissistic guy that's too much into himself, that isn't going to get the girls. Trust me, Greg O'Gallagher can get all the ladies. Guy's good looking, he has an incredible body, and he has a lot of money, and he's tall! He's even better than Coach Greg, think about it! Imagine if he'd showed a picture of Coach Greg. He should have used Greg Doucette, not Greg O'Gallagher.
This is what it actually looked like. Your amount of body fat had zero impact on your total number of partners.
And so the amount of body fat you had really zero impact on your number of partners. And so here's why. All of those averages are around 7. 7 partners in someone's entire life. How many of you think it's hard to get 7 partners if you try hard? Unless you're disgusting, unless you're poor, unless you don't leave the house, and even if you don't leave the house, unless you don't go on dating apps, you can of course get laid. If you're extremely ugly and you're fat and you're disgusting and so on, you just sleep with more disgusting and fat ladies. It's how it works. The hotties, they get the hotties. The uglies, they get the uglies. This is how it works in the real world. And so if you're fat, it doesn't mean you can't get laid. It just means you're going to get laid with other fat girls. This is how biology works. The fat attracts the fat and the hot attracts the hot. And so if you want to get the hot gym bunnies, you want to get your bench press up to 405 and get a six-pack. This is how the hierarchy of the male species actually works. And so here's another factor. We're talking about lifetime partners. We're not talking about marriage. And so if you've had 4 lifetime partners and you've married your 4th, you've been married for 20 years, well, you've made it. You've done it. Great job.
I ask people to rate their romantic satisfaction on a scale of 1 to 7, with 1 being the worst and 7 being the best.
And so Jeff is at an 8. Isn't that adorable? It's so cute that Jeff is at an 8 on a scale of 1 to 7. Well, Jeff, I'm at an 11. What do you say to that?
And I wanted to see if the people most frustrated with their romantic life were leaner or not. As you can see, the people with the most body fat also had the most people who rated their romantic satisfaction a 1.
And so the people with the highest body fat percentage, they had the least amount of sexual satisfaction. And so they may have had the same amount of partners, but they're not as happy with them. And why do you think that is? The fat are sleeping with the fat, and no one likes fat. Well, 1% of the world does. Yeah, you can all give that example. Oh, I love my girl. She's 300 pounds overweight. I love that. Yeah, speak for yourself. I'm talking about most people. And so if your partner is 200 or 300 pounds overweight, your level of satisfaction, unless she's friggin' a throat goat, then it's going to be lower than friggin' last time. Now, isn't it? I'm speaking facts. You can hate me if you will.
And the same was true for women. The most romantic dissatisfaction was found in the men and the women with the most body fat.
And so whether you're a man or a woman, when your body fat gets higher than last time, your sexual satisfaction goes down. Get it? You comprende?
This is a graph of your muscularity and your number of intimate partners. The most jacked guys had the highest number of partners with an average of 11.
And so the average would have been 4, but they hadn't included Coach Grant. The average is 11. Now remember, me and Jeff's audience, it does include 12-year-olds, and so they're perhaps at 0, and so it averages out. I certainly don't think the average number of sexual partners with the highest amount of muscle is in fact 11. If we're talking about guys in their 30s, 40s, and so on. Think of it, 11. Is that really a big number? I mean, unless you're married or perhaps in your 20s and so on, do you really think that average number is going to be 11? Trust me, these are not the gym buddies that I'm accustomed to. There's no way the average gym buddy is only sleeping with 11 partners, unless they're perhaps in their late teens or early 20s.
There you go. Same trend here. The more muscle that women had, the more partners they had. But let's be honest, who really cares about your total number of intimate partners?
Every last male human in this world, Jeff. Every single male cares about how many partners you've had. I'm going to play this for you again to show you how naive Jeff really is.
Let's be honest, who really cares about your total number of intimate partners?
Raise your hand if you don't give a shit if your girl's had 100 partners. And so Coach Greg's dated a lot of girls, done a lot of experimenting in 30 years. Do you really think that I like to hear when the girls had partners in, say, the hundreds and or thousands? When a girl tells you that they've slept with over 1,000 people, do you really think that makes a nice ting, ring, ding-a-ling in the ear? I've slept with way more people than you have. It's over 1,000. 4 digits? Are you talking about in all of your lifetimes combined, or you yourself? Are you in fact No, I've never done anything. You're not nothing. And so if that number is into the triple digits, once you break 100, well, far lower in my opinion, it kind of gives you the ick a little bit. And so most women, they're not going to admit how many partners they've really had. Most men, they add to their numbers to look cool. I've been in the hundreds. Look at me, I'm a stud. Girls, yeah, it's under 10.
What people really want is a loving and healthy relationship.
Said every simp known to man. Yeah, and so the fact that we do in fact want loving and healthy relationships, that's why we care about the number of sexual partners. If your woman's had triple digit numbers, do you really think she's ready to pair bond with you just now? Oh, you're going to be different. Yeah, you know, she's had quite a few partners. It's 63, but it's going to be different with me. I'm special. No, you're not. How are you special? Just because your mommy and daddy said you're special, you think you're special? You're not! telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. If 63 guys ran through this girl and you think the village bicycles mean any different with you, I got news for you. You're being played.
As you can see, the people with less muscle were also less likely to be in a relationship, and the people with more muscle were more likely to be in a relationship. And I think it's pretty incredible.
And so yes, it is in fact incredible. The more muscle you have, the more likely you are to have more sexual partners and the likelihood to be in a relationship. And so the guys with more muscle, they not only have more partners, they're also more likely to be in a long-term steady relationship.
Of course, all of these graphs are just correlations. They can't tell us what causes what.
And so listen, Jeff is right. It's just showing us correlations, and correlation doesn't equal causation. And so we don't know if it's the fact that they have the muscle or the things that they do in their lives that led to having that muscle. For example, people who have more muscle, perhaps they're more determined. Perhaps they have more confidence, more money. Perhaps they just have better eyes, a nicer smile. I don't know. Perhaps they dress better. They smell better. They're wearing Creed aftershave. They have proper haircuts and they have nice looking shoes. Perhaps they're driving a McLaren. I don't know. But the correlation is real.
To figure out exactly which body type women like the most, I figured I'd just ask them straight up.
They like the kinds with muscles. Muscles, tall, dressed well, and having 15% body fat or perhaps a little bit lower. I don't need them to ask what they want. That's what they want. You can ask them what they want all day long. Oh, I prefer a dad bod. I don't like muscles. It's not true. What you need to do is watch what the woman does, not what she says. What she does is way more important than what she says.
As you can see, 1 is the least muscular, and 5 is the most muscular, with 4 being around the upper limit of what's achievable naturally.
Yeah, but it's a stupid picture. Of course they're picking number 3. Even I'm picking number 3. I clearly wanted more muscle than last time, but I don't want to look like number 4. Why do you think I'd be using Turk Builder on top of my HRT if I didn't want to have more muscle? And remember, I've since gone up 6.2 pounds based on today's morning weight in comparison to before I started taking Turk Builder. Now, the editors, they told me don't talk about how much weight you gain because in case the person that buy it, they don't gain the same weight, they're going to be disappointed. Everyone knows I'm a hyper responder. Everyone knows it. I'm an IFBB freaking pro. And so clearly, if I even use a little bit of Anavar, I can feel it. A little bit HRT, look at what I've done. And so when I take Turk Builder on day 1, feel it, put on muscle. Perhaps you won't put on the 6 pounds that I put. Perhaps you'll put on 3. But is that not better than nothing? And so if you're looking for the best natural supplement in the world, this is it. Code Greg, 15% off. Click the link in the
The
description.
most attractive physique was level 3. Over 41% of women said they found level 3 the most attractive.
And pretty much nobody chose number 1. And so those number 1 guys, you know the guys that can bench press 135 pounds? It ain't it. And in case you're wondering where I'm getting all this energy from, is from my hardcore stim pre-workout. More hardcore than last time. I'm up to 1.5 scoops. Please be careful. Don't use 2 scoops unless you start and try out 1 first.
Only 10% of women said they found level 5 most attractive, while 33% of men are chasing this physique. That's a big gap.
Well, I'll tell you why. Not everyone is just going to the gym just to impress girls. It isn't just about getting girls. Do you really think the only reason we go to the gym is to get girls? I don't need any more girls. Trust me, I don't need any more. But yet I'm still going to the gym. And why is that? Because I like it. And why am I chasing more muscle? Because it gives me dopamine, makes me feel good. I feel a sense of accomplishment. And so the accomplishment is not just I need to get a mate. So what? You get married and you stop working out? It doesn't work like that. We don't just go to the gym to get girls.
Since many men do train, at least partly with the goal of attracting women, and since getting to level 5 would potentially impose health risks, for some, it might be worth reconsidering your goal.
And so it's true. Jeff makes a great point. You got to agree with him. If you're just going to the gym to get girls, you don't need to use steroids. Steroids get you at that next level, which you don't need. But what you do need is to have a lean physique. And so you can get Jeff's macro app, which can help, of course, or you can get my freaking cookbook or my Circle Diet book, my life's work, how to lose weight, keep it off for the rest of your life. And these delicious recipes certainly going to help it make it a lot easier for you to lose weight.
Out of everything I analyzed in my survey, the strongest correlation with dating parameters was, oddly enough, bench press strength.
And Coach Greg, world record holder in the bench press. Let me repeat that. World record holder in the bench. And sumo Guinness record for deadlifts.
Do you think you'd be even more likely still to go out with a guy if he could bench press 3 plates?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
What about 5? Would 5 impress you for 4 reps? And might I add, with a pause. I did that.
Men who could bench more seem to go on more dates, be more likely to be in a relationship, and just do better romantically overall.
And so, yeah, I get it. I'm not 6'2", but I made up for it with my bench press.